$10,000 is a big, shiny number. Well, I won't speak for everyone here, but I'd say most of us want to achieve or have. And it's personally one of my financial goals this year to add $10,000 to my emergency fund. After having a baby in mid-2024, taking a look at my financial status and financial goals became really important to me, especially this particular one. Now that we have a baby, my husband and I felt that adding an additional $10,000 to our emergency fund would be wise just in case, an emergency happens. So this has become one of my most important financial goals in 2025. But while saving an extra $10,000 sounds great in theory, it's definitely easier said than done. So in this video, I have created the ultimate financial plan to help you and myself get there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Step one. First, in order to understand how we're going to get that $10,000, we need to have a good grasp on where our finances currently stand. Now, this can be a little bit daunting, and as you do it, you might cringe at a couple of things. I know I have when I take a look at my Amazon spending. But in a survey collected by Clever in early 2024, nearly a third of Americans say that they're ashamed of their financial state, with an even higher percentage, 36%, saying that they feel guilty about their spending. Nearly half of Americans avoid thinking about their finances because it stresses them out. Additionally, more than a quarter, or 28%, say that they're afraid to check in on their finances because they will realize how much they're actually spending. But the first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem, right? I think the same goes for your bank account and ultimately resetting for your finances for 2025. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but take a look at your bank statement, skim through it, and get kind of a baseline understanding for how much you're spending on shopping versus eating out. Maybe take a look at your total debt from your house, your car, your credit card, and be honest with yourself. Have you been saving at all? What about investments? Do you have money in a 401k? Just take a few minutes to familiarize yourself with your finances. One of my personal favorite finance books is You Are a Badass at Making Money. And in this book, the author, Jen Sincero, talks about how the fear and avoidance around money can actually really hold you back from financial success. She highlights that if you're scared to look at your bank account or deal with your finances, you're likely just perpetuating a negative cycle of financial struggle. The key message here is that the first step to improving your finances is some awareness around your bank account, your spending, and some honesty about where you're currently at. So that's what we're gonna do in this first step. Just take a few minutes, look at your bank account, familiarize yourself, and then we'll check in on step two. All right, so once you have a good grasp on where you're currently at, honestly, you might be feeling a little bit crummy about yourself, but it's okay. Trust me, I have been there too, and that's what this video is for, to hopefully help you fix it. So next we're gonna take just 5 minutes to really think about what our financial goals are for 2025. For me and the purposes of this video, I wanted to focus on saving up an additional $10,000 to add to my emergency fund savings account, but other ideas could be paying off credit cards, paying off student loans, saving up for a trip or a down payment on a house, or figuring out how to get started investing in the stock market. I'm going to take it all the way back to elementary school here and tell you that you should use SMART goals so that it feels a little bit more real and tangible. For me, my SMART goal is to save an extra $10,000 by December 31st, 2025. Don't just say you want to pay off your credit card debt. Figure out exactly what that number is and how much you need to pay it off. Don't just say you want to save money. Come up with the exact number that you want to have in your savings account and by when. Then write it down so you don't forget. Maybe even put a little sticky note on your computer at work so that you have to look at it every single day. All right, moving on to step three. Now that we know our goals, we need to figure out how to get there. So for my example of adding $10,000 to my emergency savings account, I kind of want to break this down a little bit. So this could look like $833 per month. This may sound like a lot, but as I break it down a little bit more, it's actually $208 per week, or roughly $27.77 per day. Now, for those of us that like to go out to eat for lunch during work or go out for a morning Starbucks every day, actually spending $27.77 can happen really fast. So in order to figure out where I'm going to come up with that $27.77 per day or $833 per month, I need to take a little bit of a deeper look into my finances. So this is where having a structured monthly budget comes in really handy. Now, this isn't like a how-to budget video, and I think we all generally know how budgeting works, income minus expenses equals leftover money for saving and spending. But by taking a deeper look and actually setting up a monthly budget for yourself, if you are really serious about these goals, will help you better visualize and understand how you're actually going to achieve them. For me, it's honestly mostly Amazon spending and food that I tend to go over on every single month. So I can actually go ahead and set some really specific spending goals for grocery and shopping so that I don't actually go over that number and the rest can actually go to savings. I actually did purchase a cute little budget tracker from Etsy. I actually found it from another creator here on YouTube, so I will link her video where she kind of does like a walkthrough tutorial on this budget tracker down in my description box. And I actually really like the setup on this particular one because it has a whole page for like your annual goals. And this is again a great place to write down whatever your financial goals are and have a place to remember them and check in with them on a monthly basis. But you definitely don't have to go out and purchase a budget tracker. You could definitely make your own on Excel or Google Sheets. I just thought this would be nice because it looks cute and I don't have to put together any formulas. It's all pre-made for me. So this step might take a little while, at least the first time you do it, getting everything set up, but I do think that it's worth it. Just spend an hour or two going over everything, getting it all set up, and each month it'll be a lot quicker and easier, as well as make it a little bit of an automatic habit. And this is one that I personally really want to work on in 2025 because my husband and I are primarily living off of his income. I do make a little bit from YouTube here, but majority of our income is from his 9-to-5 job. And because of that, you know, our monthly income and expenses can be a little bit tight at times. So I think it would be really, really helpful for me to have a better understanding of where our spending is going each month and where we can pull back. Next, I have a sub step for this, so we'll call it step 3A. Now that you kind of have your budget set up, this is a great time to determine where you can cut back on any unnecessary expenses. This could look like canceling subscriptions that you don't use very much or learning how to meal plan so you don't go out to eat as often. Once you have some sub items totaled up, you'll really be able to see where a lot of your spending is going. All right, moving on to step 4. Of course, looking at the budget and cutting back on expenses sounds fine and dandy, but the reality is that some people just don't make enough money to save $10,000 in a year. Actually, according to the most recent census data, the median household income in 2023 was $80,610. Savings by age 34 or under 35 was a median savings account balance of $5,400. By the way, I'm focusing on under 35 because that's my personal demographic. Of course, you can look up your own demographic if you're curious, but think about what you can actually even do with $5,400. In a personal finance article I found on CNBC, it stated that unfortunately, more than half of American workers are unable to cover a $500 emergency expense. And only 48% of respondents to a May poll of 1,000 US adults by Bankrate said they have enough emergency savings to cover at least 3 months worth of expenses. Due to this lack of emergency savings, people are more likely to finance an unforeseen expense on credit cards or dip into retirement savings accounts. All right, I think you get my point here. We could all use a little extra income to help out with our savings and spending. And especially as a stay-at-home mom, I'd love to be bringing in a little bit extra income for my family. And I'm sure that lots of other stay-at-home moms can relate to that as well. So this is where step 4 comes in, increasing your income. I actually plan to dive a lot deeper into this topic in next week's video, where I'm going to share what I think are the 10 best and easiest side hustles to start making money like right now, right away, especially as a stay-at-home mom. So things that you can like actually do from home. So stay tuned for next week's video if you want some ideas for different side hustles and especially like how to actually get started and how much I think that you can make from each one. But the reality is that if you need to save more money, one of the easiest ways to do it is to make more money. So I would highly encourage you to think about ways to do that. It could look like starting a side hustle or business. You could offer some freelance services, or you could even consider selling items that you already own. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and rapid fire some quick ideas for you to maybe give you a little bit of a launching point. You could be an Uber driver, a dog walker, you could do pet sitting, you could do DoorDash, you could sell old clothes on Poshmark, you could rent out a room in your house on Airbnb, you could fill out online surveys, or you could sell bigger items in your house that you no longer use, like maybe your husband's Xbox that he doesn't use anymore, but he thinks he's going to use, but he's probably not because you have kids. Okay, you get the idea. But like I said, I'm gonna share a lot more specific ideas on how to actually get started with them in next week's video. But it simply comes down to this. If you want to save more money, then you might just need to make more money. And remember, you would only need to make an extra $27.77 per day in order to get to that $10,000 goal. All right, and moving on to step 5. I think one of the smartest money hacks that you can do is actually set up automatic transfers into your savings account. So if you have a 9-to-5 job, this could mean automatically transferring money over the second you get paid so that you don't even have an opportunity to spend it. I genuinely think that this is one of the smartest and strongest financial decisions that you can do for yourself. Another one of my personal favorite personal finance books is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and in this book it talks about paying yourself first. You get a paycheck and then you put money aside for yourself and for your future by automatically transferring money either into a savings account or an investment account. So again, that spending it just literally isn't even an option. And then as your checking account dwindles towards the end of the month, instead of spending the money that should have gone into savings, it's not even there, and you have to kind of maybe be a little bit creative for ways that you're going to eat food, spend or not spend, etc. Whether it's $50 or $500, this can really add up over multiple months, and ultimately multiple years to really set you up for financial success. I personally really like to treat this as money that I never even had. It just automatically gets moved over to an account that I don't touch. Unless, of course, in case of an emergency, and that's the whole point of an emergency fund. You only touch it if it's an emergency. But again, I think that this is truly the key to long-term financial success. And lastly, spend time every single month rinsing and repeating. Spend time every month looking at your budget, your spending, your savings, and this overall plan. Use the budget tracker that you made for yourself to hold yourself accountable and check in on where you're at with your spending, your budgeting, and ultimately your saving. You might find that after a month or two of doing this, maybe your savings goal is a little bit too lofty, and that's okay. But if you are still moving money over to your savings account, every little bit adds up. Or maybe you found that once you cut back on some spending, you actually have a lot of money left over that can increase whatever your goal was. Life happens, so your budget should definitely be flexible and have some wiggle room to adapt. But by consistently monitoring and tracking your goals, you will actually be able to get closer and closer to them. But that's it. That's all you have to do, and that is the ultimate plan to reach any of your financial goals in 2025. So let's just go over a quick recap. First, understand where you're currently at financially, then set some really specific goals for yourself. Write them down somewhere that you won't forget and can look at them every single day. Set up a budget for yourself to better understand exactly where all of your spending is going and to help yourself identify areas to cut back and shift that money over to a savings account. Find ways to increase your income, whether that be through side hustles, selling some things in your house that you don't use, etc. Automate the money that comes into your bank account to automatically get moved over to your savings so you don't even get to see it or touch it or play with it. And then again, rinse and repeat every single month. I truly believe that if you want to reach your financial goals and you actually do this plan and take it seriously, you can do it. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed hearing this plan and like seeing my financial tips, especially as a stay-at-home mom, make sure you subscribe to my channel where I talk about all things personal finance, especially as it relates to stay-at-home mom life and motherhood. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch up with you next time.